In the 1980s, a maverick futurist warned the world about AI, fiber optics, and digital revolutions. Long before Silicon Valley made them buzzwords. Today, we are sitting down with the men who shape strategies for Fortune 500 titans, the Pentagon, and even Google. And he is here to review, my friends, how can you stop chasing the future and start commanding it? Welcome to a masterclass in anticipation with Daniel Burrus. What's up, my friend Daniel?
Hey, thank you so much for having me on. What a pleasure. And, and before we got the show started, you shared with me just in a few minutes that you had a vision for yourself when you were a kid because you had a tough beginnings. Yes. And let's start out with the power of vision, because if you have no vision for yourself, things don't seem to happen. And just to share that vision that you had for yourself just a little bit, it's important.
Man, yeah, we had a great talk then before we started here, where I was sharing with Daniel guys some of the things that when you believe in something, some of you guys over here might be going through some tough times. You've been failing. Maybe your startup is not moving forward. You're running out of cash from the investors, or maybe your marriage in your life or your children, or whatever that dream is that you have. And the thing that I was talking to Daniel here before was that I kept speaking life to the younger Carlos, independent of how hell it looks, right? Some of you guys know my father died in a horrible car accident, car explosion. I was a baby, 3 months old. If that wasn't enough, my stepfather was murdered. And I had to sell bread on the streets as a 7-year-old kid because I wish that somebody would show up for us. And I would ask my grandma, hey, Grandma, why does Chuck Norris and some of the legends, Michael Jordan, why some of them, they don't come over here to the hood, to the block, to the favelas? And she goes, eles não falam português, filho. They don't speak Portuguese, son. And I say, you know what, Grandma, one day I will travel the world. I will learn multiple languages. I will meet amazing people like AKA Daniel Burrus and other celebrities and athletes and influencers around the world. And I will speak life into all of us. And that's what I did. I kept speaking life into myself, even though I don't see it at times. And we got to be careful what we speak and when we speak life into others. Whether you are evil or bad, whether you are Hitler or Nelson Mandela, when you say something long enough, often enough, people will believe you. They will follow you. So start speaking life to yourself, my friends, especially the underdogs around the world. You have greatness within you. Let's get it for another episode of the Carlos Inspire Show. So happy, my friend Daniel, to be here, man. You are legendary, doing work with like Fortune 50 giants, the Pentagon, a speaker, an author, a leader, an influencer. I mean, you've been in tech long before tech was tech, right?
And yeah, it's been a long time. It has been a long, long time.
Yes. My brother, I prepared some great questions here for you today, because then you predicted AI, the rise of AI in the 1980s. Like I was literally just born. I'm on my 40s now. And that was a time when computers, they filled like entire rooms. As some of you guys remember here, my OG friends. And what gave you that edge, Daniel, to see what others current?
Well, one of the things that I did, I started out, and I'll make this kind of brief, but I started out teaching biology and physics. So I had a research background and I was interested in technology and science, but I was interested in all areas of science, not just one. And along the way, I had an idea for an airplane design. So I decided to build it. I test flew it and ended up with 37 national locations in the first year. Started another company. Within 2 years, I had 4 companies that were all doing really great, but I missed teaching. You see, Carlos, I was put on the planet to teach, not to tell. That's what we're going to do here tonight, too. That's going to tell you some things and hope for the best. We're going to teach some things, some principles that all of you can apply to your own life and to your own business. So I started a number of companies. I missed the teaching part, and I did the opposite. What I did is I went out to being old. I asked myself, if I'm in my late 90s and I look back at my life and this is how I lived the professional part of my life, am I happy? And the answer was no. So I knew I had to sell those companies, and I didn't want to go back to teaching because you can never go back. You can only go forward. I ride a Harley Davidson motorcycle, and one of the things I love about it is there is no reverse. You see, you can't go back. So you can only go forward. So instead of going back to teaching, I decided, hey, what does forward look like? One of the principles I teach is to take your biggest problem and skip it. So I looked at all the things I didn't like and skipped them. For example, I didn't like the limitation of the classroom size. So I thought, well, why not make the classroom planet Earth? I didn't like the limitation of a university or an institution. Well, I'll work for myself. I won't work for one. I skipped all the things I didn't like. And now here's to answer your question specifically. I took a year researching. And I researched, again, it was a long time ago. I was much younger then. And what I did was I researched probably 7 days a week, probably 10, 12 hours, 14 hours a day for a year. And by the way, you can learn a lot when you do that. And I didn't look at just AI or technology. I looked at all areas, biology, chemistry, physics, all the new things that were going on around the world. And I've got to tell you something I've told very few audiences, but I'll share it with all of you. Towards the end of that year, I had a true epiphany. I mean, you know what happened? I saw the future. I saw the future you and I are in right now. I saw it clear as a bell. What am I going to do? Run out in the early 80s and run out in the street and say, hey, I saw the future. No, I had to have some way of sharing it. So I developed, remember I taught biology, and I developed what I call the taxonomy of technology. In other words, these are the new taxonomies, the new tools that will be shaping the future. AI was in there, digital electronics, fiber optics was in there, genetic engineering was in there. Nanotechnology was in there. We're talking the early 80s because I had seen the birth of these things and I knew they were what I call hard trends, meaning they're going to get bigger and every year as every year unfolds. So once I had that defined, then I started speaking and writing, and that was 7 books ago and thousands of articles and thousands and thousands of speeches around the world, trying to get people to not just predict the future. Here's what I'm really about. I want people to actively shape a positive future for themselves and for others. And I'd like you to use the new tools of technology to do it. Why? Because technology lets you turn the impossible into the possible. There are things we're doing today that was impossible 2 years ago. By the way, there are things we'll be doing 2 years from now that are impossible today. And there's actually a way to see those things by defining those hard and soft trends. We can talk more about that if you'd like. Wow. So it's a long answer to your question, but it kind of gave you a little bit of an idea of where I came from there.
I love it. I love it how you say for whatever problems you have, you just skip them.
But you know what? That's one of all the groups that I work with. The skip it principle is one of their favorites. As long as you like it, let me give you a couple of more examples, okay?
I want to skip not have to diet. I hate dieting. I'm 6'5", 300 pounds, and lately I've been on a lot of salad. I want to skip the salad.
Skip that, all that stuff. Yeah, exactly. Well, the problem is you have to dig down. First of all, let me give you some examples. I talked to a young niece not long ago, and she had her first job, and she can't save money. She was spending money like crazy. And she knows it's possible to save money. Her older sister can save money, but she can't save money. And she said, Uncle Dan, I'm working really hard at saving money. I just can't do it. And I said, well, no wonder. You're working on the wrong problem. Why don't we skip trying to save money? Why don't you work at how you spend your money? Aha. All of a sudden, what happened? Well, she started saving it. You see, in other words, the reason we all have a problem we're stuck with is it's the wrong problem. That's why you're smart. That's why you haven't solved it. Dig a little deeper and you can easily solve it. Back when they were making the first Jaws movie, they had a really big problem and it almost didn't get made because they couldn't make a shark that looked real. It looked fake as heck. They couldn't make it look real. And they were almost ready to quit until somebody said, oh, let's skip it. Let's not show the shark. Let's show what the shark is looking at when it's swimming. And give it a little music. Well, that's what they do. They skip the problem and bingo, there you go. So the skip it principle can be used. I've used it in business all the time, and it is huge.
No, I love it. I love it. Sometimes, like the 2 millimeter rule that we often talk about in business, you if you're hitting that golf ball and you're 2 millimeters off to the right or to the left, that ball's gonna go 100 yards to 200 yards right or left. So, like, you skip that problem. You don't have to skip. You're not saying skip the entire thing. Just make an adjustment. Skip that problem, and amazing things can happen from there. I love that principle that you just share here, Daniel. And Daniel, tell me something. You advised the Pentagon and Fortune 500 giants. What is one strategy or like a secret that these powerful players share that most entrepreneurs miss? If you can go a little bit deep into that.
Well, I will go deep into that, and I'll share with you what really gets them excited when I talk with them, because what we want to do is come up with something that they know will happen, and they know is big, and they know it'll be disruptive. Because what keeps the big guys awake at night is the things they don't know.
Yeah,
it's the disruption they can't see. It's about to hit and disrupt their world. So one of the things I've developed over the years, and now I'm going to go into teacher mode for everybody, there's no shortage of trends as you look to the future. But what I found over my research is that all trends fit into one of two categories. They're either a hard trend based on a future fact that will happen. Now, that means it can't be stopped. Or it's a soft trend based on an assumption that may or may not happen. So what does a hard trend give you? It lets you see disruptions before they disrupt, turning disruption into a choice, because today you're either going to be the disruptor or the disrupted. And what about a soft trend? Well, if you don't like it, you can change it, because that's based on an assumption that may or may not happen. So again, we have some capabilities. So when the big companies, and by the way, whether it's the Air Force or any of the others, when they're looking at what are the hard trend certainties we know will happen. Let me give you a couple of quick examples. Wireless technology. We went from 3G wireless to 4G wireless to 5G wireless. Is that it? No, we're going to have what? 6G, followed by 7G. And we're putting a lot in the cloud. Is the cloud getting full? Well, no, we're going to be putting more in the cloud. And AI, you might say, well, I don't know if I like AI. Well, can we shut it down? No, it's accelerating it beyond exponential speeds. The key is, what are you doing about it? Because it's getting stronger and more powerful. And by the way, if something is getting more powerful every day, do you want to be head in the sand like this with, I think I'll wait and see how others will use it? By the way, you can wait and you see yourself right out of business today. Or do you want to shift your mindset around and say to yourself, wait, I know this is a hard trend. I want to be more relevant going forward rather than less relevant. Maybe I ought to learn about this AI now. And by the way, there's many more things. By the way, there's a lot of baby boomers in many countries, not all. The US has a lot of baby boomers. China has a lot of baby boomers. Are they going to get chronologically younger? No, they're going to get older. Well, that's a future fact. But instead of me just saying it's either a hard trend or a soft trend, the second key element here that I want to teach everyone here tonight is that a trend by itself is academic, so what? Until you attach an opportunity to it. When you attach an opportunity into it, it bursts into action. So you might ask yourself, all right, well, we know AI is getting more powerful every year. What is the opportunity for me, given what I do with AI? Well, now I have to investigate what are some of the AI tools, and I've got a way to help people with that. We can share that later if you would like, but there's a way to do those things.
Wow. No, man, it's you really, as I was preparing for this episode, and then now as you are answering some of these questions, you really even bring me back in time. You know how Japan has always been so much advanced. I remember when I was doing telecom with AT&T broadband, Comcast, in the early 2000s, and we were literally telling people about the modem, the cable modem, and
Yeah,
people
yeah,
are
yeah.
like, you stuck in the dial-up AOL rotary phone and stuff. And I was saying, no, this is the future. But even then, when we were doing 1 meg or 3 megs internet, Japan was already 20, 30, 50 megs. And then we were so behind, and it's so much more out there. And now we are so much more advanced. And
But
now we are.
here's the key point to that, what you just said. Back then, that exponential curve was going exponential, but everything was happening slower.
Yeah.
It's been accelerating every year. So right now we're in the holy cow phase, meaning it's accelerating super fast. And when things are changing super fast and you're not changing, now I'm kind of worried.
It's crazy, Daniel. Like the stuff that's out there, like, you got agents now that they can literally call the clients on our behalf. We can train a model. We can literally use a custom GPT model, right? And train that model to call people on our behalf, book them to be on a call with us, vet that client to talk to us, and be able to answer customer service questions, few orders, do everything. And then in the military, all the things that they are testing with robots, and now we can save a lot of lives of soldiers, and the stuff, and it's such a fast pace, and it's fascinating how much. It's like you say, it's every year, and now it looks like every 6 months, and it's incredible to see what is it going to go. And that's why I love what you say, guys. Like, you gotta embrace this.
You got to get on board. You got to get
gotta
on
put
board.
in those late nights, those weekends, to really learn it. Because if you don't, your competition will learn it. They will apply it, and it's hard to keep it up with your competitors. If they have, you can now have hundreds of agents working underneath you and being on your staff, and they're all robots. And
Well,
you can train them.
What you're getting at here is something that I'm going to put a name to it right now. And we couldn't have done this earlier, but we can do it right now. We have the beginning of the biggest productivity revolution that has ever happened on the planet. That's, by the way, all of us personally, how we can be far more productive, automating the repetitive tasks that have slowed us down, allowing us to do higher level activities. And AI, people are worried about, will AI take all the jobs? And when ChatGPT first came out a couple of years ago, I was interviewed in New York about it, and the interviewer said, will humans be replaced by AI? And my answer was, humans will be replaced by humans using AI. And my best example I think I could give everyone tonight is, let's say that, let's look at cancer. Doctors that study cancer are oncologists. And right now, AI knows more than any living oncologist about cancer. It's looked at every X-ray, every chemotherapy that's ever been given. Globally, by the way, it's got all of that. No human can remember that at any point in time. That's what AI has. So I'm going to give you 3 choices if you know someone that has cancer. Number 1, a really good oncologist. Number 2, just AI. Number 3, a really good oncologist that has access to AI. Bingo, there's the future. So if we were in biology, I would call it a symbiotic relationship. Yeah. But really, it needs us, we need it. We work together really well. And what does it do in the long run? In the long run, personally, for all of us, as well as for our businesses, we're in a game of relevancy. Yeah. And you can't coast. Yes. You're either going down or you're going up. So tonight, you have to ask yourself, let's make this not a normal podcast, all right? Here's what I'd like to do. Let's make tonight a defining moment for you and for your career and for your business. A defining moment, because you could squander a defining moment. We're doing things that are amazing right now. So, what are you doing to elevate your personal relevancy? What are you doing to elevate the relevancy of your organization or whatever you're doing as a career? Let's look at elevation.
Yes. That's why I called it a masterclass when we began, because I already knew you are a professor. I love teaching myself. I know we were going to have a great time, and we see a bunch of people dropping, comments, and I'm like, any questions that you guys have, guys, drop it below. We release new episodes every Monday at 5:07 a.m. Pacific time. You can go to carlosinspireshow.com for new episodes with all the legends that we bring here on the show every week. And you guys know we're on a mission to eliminate hunger and leave this world a little bit better than what I came into. And we couldn't do it without you guys. Every like, every comment, thank somebody here today. As you've seen Dr. Daniel talking about this, and I always talk about the best leaders don't fear disruption. They weaponize it.
Well,
Your competition, for real, there isn't other companies. It's irrelevance.
Wait, here's what I would like you to do. First of all, let's think about disruption. First of all, let's just take that subject. Disruption can be seen as negative. Why? Because you're the one who's getting disrupted. Now you got a crisis manage, put out fires, and do all this stuff. But if you ask Jeff Bezos or Sam Altman or some of the others that are shaping the future, you might say they like disruption. It's the people they're disrupting that don't like disruption. Well, here's my point. I want everyone tonight to become a positive disruptor. Now, here's what I mean by positive disruptor. A positive disruptor creates the transformations that need to happen to elevate relevancy and accelerate innovation and growth. So let's, instead of fearing disruption, hey, let's be positive disruptors.
Yep.
There's a reason why there's hunger. Well, let's disrupt that. Yep. Let's become a positive disruptor and disrupt the problem of hunger. By the way, as I said, the skip it principle, if we look at hunger, well, hunger exists, but we have to dig down to find out why hunger exists. If we get down to the why, you have a solvable problem.
Yes. Amen.
If you just are with a lot of hunger, then you're stuck. So dig down. I know that
Elon challenged some folks out there about the him and Bezos would drop $3 billion each, and if as long as they could show them the accounting and show me the numbers, well, I'll get the $6 billion that it would take to end hunger. But he want to see the accounting being done correctly, because you and I know, Daniel, there's a lot of corruption out there, but we won't get into corruption today. But Daniel,
wait, you just brought corruption. Let me get into it just a second. All right, hang on. AI. Let's take AI and combine that. All right. AI can do amazingly bad things. Amazingly bad things. By the way, AI can do amazingly wonderful things. I'm going to suggest the people that are here tonight, I think we're all good people. That's what I believe. And here's what I suggest. Why don't we use it to do amazingly wonderful things while we protect ourselves from the people that are doing the amazingly bad things? And one way that you can do that is to come up with a family password. There's something I've been sharing for a couple of years, and I just now saw that some others are starting to get the word out. What I mean by that is right now your voice can be cloned. So your son or daughter or grandkid could call you right now and say, "Hi, I'm in jail, I need money," and they sound just like them, and you could get swindled. So what you'll do instead is say, well, what's the family password? See? So we need to have things like that. Simple. By the way, that doesn't cost anything, and it doesn't even involve technology. It's a strategy. So let's have some things. And the other thing is zero trust. When you get a text from your bank or an email, immediately I've got zero trust. I don't have full trust. I have the opposite. I got zero trust.
Oh, God.
Right? So let's have a zero trust attitude about these things.
Oh, no. So funny you're talking about this. My family, my daughter and my wife and I, right after we saw them cloning Joe Rogan's podcast, we say, "Oh, hell no!" I put so much content out there over the years. My daughter been on stage since she's 4 years old. Monkey see, monkey do, right? She see me on the stage with all the legends, right? Les Brown, Jay Shetty, Tony Robbins, and she's like us because that's all she sees. She's in that environment, right? Monkey see, monkey do. So then my wife and my daughter and I, we were like, guys, we got to come up with the family pesco. So funny you say that, because it's important, guys. And some of you guys know I've been preaching about finance and wealth for a long time, and I am big in protecting, especially Americans. We are getting older, and people are out there trying to get them, whether it's through Amazon or their email, and it's through their banks, right? And then if you're into blockchain, they will try to get you through blockchain. They're becoming very sophisticated. Let's say if you are a Coinbase user, which is a bank for cryptocurrency, they will send you a text. "Hey, we are from Coinbase. We're trying to access your account." Do not trust those things, guys.
Yeah,
Same thing with
especially that.
Bank of America, Citibank, Wells Fargo. They all getting sophisticated by sending you texts and emails, acting like they are the banks, or to get to your accounts. And you guys gotta be able to have some good discernment on that, and do not trust it. None of these institutions, they will never, ever. Like, they try to clone. They try to clone myself, all the time on social media. The other day, my followers, they know me. I would never, ever, even though I have the little, check mark and, whatever they want to call it, a verified influencer, blah, 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 BS. They can clone that too. Daniel and I will never DM you and message you and text you asking you for money on none of this crap. We literally won't, So I really hope that you guys literally listen to Daniel on this, man. The family password, and then drop it down below. Whether you guys are live on the replay, we got it, Carlos. And don't drop your password in the
So what's Carlos and Daniel really trying to do? Actually, what we're trying to do is to give you something, right? Yeah. And if we're giving you something, the guys that are doing the cheating stuff probably want to get something.
Oh yeah, they're not happy with us right now.
Yeah, exactly. So let me give another. Let's shift gears and give another personal strategy for people to create wealth and also to grow their business and themselves. And that is, there was a book years ago called Good to Great, and in that book it started out by saying, "Good is the enemy of great." Well, I've got a new one for you. Great is the enemy of extraordinary. I would like all of you to choose on a daily basis to be extraordinary versions of yourselves. And here's how you do that. Before you do something, let's say you're going to show a PowerPoint or do a presentation or whatever it is that you're about to do. You're a student. You're about to ask a question. Stop and ask yourself, what would an extraordinary person do? And do that instead. And if you do that consistently, after a while, what people will start saying is, you're extraordinary. Well, yeah, you chose to be. So why don't we make a commitment to ourselves to all become extraordinary? Because you don't have to be born that way. You can choose to be that way. When Mother Teresa was 12 years old, she was not extraordinary yet. She chose to be a little later and as she got older. In other words, she wasn't born with it. So why don't we choose to right now?
And we have plenty of examples, right? Daniel, we got of Walt Disney. They told him that he was stupid and dumb, and he went and doing what he did. Michael Jordan, right? They didn't believe in him when he was young, that he wasn't going to make it. And, we can all prove them wrong. I was told. I remember growing up in Brazil, and you're never going to go anywhere, kid. You were born in the hood. You're going to die in the hood. You don't have a father figure. You never went to the best schools in the world. Fun enough, now I speak at the best schools in the world, and without the PhDs and the MBAs, nothing against all that. I love it. I wanted my children to go for it. If that's your thing, that's your thing. But at the end of the day, it's like, and Daniel and myself, we're always preaching, right? Just go for it. Believe in yourself, and shut it down, the haters and the naysayers, because especially now, leverage all this technology that's ahead of us. Follow people like Daniel, myself. They're out there always sharing great stuff that's going to advance you. You know how we do it over here on the show. I try to get the best out of my guests, so there we are empowering you guys with great tools, great strategies. Even somebody asked a question over here that for a lot of people, they might think this is a question that is not so relevant. But what do you think about this question here, Daniel? So many passcodes. What do you suggest? What is a safe way to keep your passcodes? I get that so much from my senior clients, but actually somebody over here showing a LinkedIn user. I'm not sure why he's doing that. Some people, I can see their names. Mindal would say brilliant. So shout out for everybody that's here live with us. But back to the LinkedIn user, whoever you are, it's a great question. What do you think? Then do you trust AI to save your passwords, or what is your suggestion? I mean, you are out there advising the Pentagon. They got a lot of things.
Well, first of all, I'm glad Meningas did ask that question, and so I appreciate that. First of all, biometrics is really good. So, and multiple biometrics is what we're using. So it's not just your face; it's your finger and your face. And by the way, we're continuing to do more with biometrics. For example, you can do the That you can use your fingerprint, not just the finger like it is today, but it can also be the bioelectrics on your finger. Everybody's is different.
Yeah.
So it can be all kinds of different things that we can use. So there's biometrics. Again, most of our passcodes are not that good. We should go and fix them. So if you've got, Apple and you're using their passcode, their passcode little box, that's good. That's locked. That is until quantum comes along. We'll come back to that in a second. And all the other ones are good. That is until quantum comes along, and then they're all not good. So we've got some issues going forward. And by the way, when we talk about AI, you've all seen the Boston Dynamic robots dancing, right?
Yep.
All right.
They do all kinds. They dance. They fight. You saw that one that they puts the gun when they see a civilian, they don't shoot. The civilian walks away. They start shooting. It's just incredible.
I know. Like I said, you take robots and you give them AI, and it gets wild. And it doesn't have to be a human-like robot either. It could be like a snake, or like a bird, or it could be like an insect, or it could be invisible.
Yeah, the animal eyes. They're using camouflage. You see some of the new airplanes. I bet you see some cool tech at the Pentagon.
Yeah.
I heard that the new F-47 is going to be pretty dope.
Camouflage. Yeah. There's a lot of things I can't tell you about, but exactly.
But something that we can discuss here is, you mentioned, quantum, and I always, I talk to a lot of people, about money and finance and wealth, and do you believe that quantum can disrupt the blockchain industry? Do you think quantum can crack Bitcoin? That's a question that a lot of people talk about. In your experience, do you think quantum can disrupt that space, the blockchain? And let's say Bitcoin in particular, since Bitcoin is the one that many corporations now are leveraging, the governments now in US, El Salvador, they using it. Do you think quantum can impact that industry?
Yeah, in a nanosecond. Yeah.
Wow. I like your conviction. It's like,
no question about it.
Guys, pay attention. He didn't say just he's saying a nanosecond.
In a nanosecond, like boom, doom. So does that mean that we're all in trouble if we got crypto? No. What it means is that we have companies, both the bad guys. Remember, we have the bad guys and we have the good guys.
Yeah.
And the good guys are working on trying to come up with the quantum software, and they're working on that already, getting really far along, and trying to make sure that when quantum is ready, we've got the software that can run on the quantum. Remember, quantum hardware and there's quantum software. There's two different things. So we can develop the software as the hardware gets up to speed. So the minute the hardware is there, we, instead of saying, oh boy, we better get going on software, we're in trouble. No, we'll have the software already developed so we can get it working, and all of a sudden get ourselves straightened out.
I bet you, Michael Saylor, my brother, if you're listening, I bet you are working on that big time, because Michael has quite a bit of Bitcoin. His company used to call MicroStrategy, now calls it Strategy, and he happens to have quite a bit in Bitcoin, and he happens to be in the tech space. So I wouldn't be surprised if his company going to be one of the leading companies behind the best softwares and hardwares, because that's something that he often preaches it. Shout out to Michael. I've been trying to get him on the show. So if you're watching, if somebody here knows Michael Saylor, tell him that your brother Carlos Inspire is looking for him. But no, I love this conversation, then, because it's something that we constantly talk about. And I love your answer to in a nanosecond. But Daniel, your hard trend methodology separates certainty from chaos. How can a small business owner use this to outmaneuver the billion-dollar rivals?
You can absolutely, definitely do that. And as a matter of fact, in my book, Flash Foresight, which I wrote during the 2009-10, that wasn't my last book. That was the one before that. I decided to do an experiment and use the principles, hard trends, soft trends, that I was teaching in that book, to start a company with the idea of, I'm not going to hire anyone and I'm not going to spend any money. And it took 8 months to create the first mobile real estate app that was the number 18, the 18th most downloaded on the first day we put it in, and disrupted the whole world of real estate. And now the biggest ones that are out there used our software to get it started. So anyway, that was done by not spending money. And by the way, let me explain that, because I know some of you are saying, well, wait, back up. How did you do it without spending money and without hiring anyone? All right, well, I'm using principles I'm teaching. I skipped some things. So here's what I did. I needed to develop the software, and I don't develop software. So instead of hiring someone, I skipped that. I called a local university, asked for the computer science department, talked to the head of the computer science department, and I said, I'd like the name of an undergraduate that is getting a degree in software design that knows more than all the teachers. And he said, oh, you mean Steve? And I said, yeah, Steve. So I gave Steve a call and I said, Steve, what are you doing to make money on the side? And Steve said, I'm programming websites for businesses. And I said, oh, I bet you're bored. And he said, yeah, I've been doing that since I was a teenager in middle school. And I said, so how would you like to make a mobile app? Remember, this is 2009. So this was in the beginning of all that. How would you like to make a mobile app that no one has ever seen before that is really cool? And he said, oh boy, I'd like that. So I said, now I can't give you any money. It's a rule I set up. However, I can give you 5% of the profits for the first couple of years. And he said, okay, I'm in. So you see, that's how I was able to develop things, by getting people in like that. I just skipped hiring. Yeah, and by the way, the only rule I had for Steve was he could not drop out of school, no matter how much and how well he was doing. By the way, he graduated with honors and had his own software company today. Wow. So what can a small business do? Let's get specific. Okay. What I'd like you to do after this show, and if you want more information about how to do all this, of course, you can go to my website, burrus.com. You can get the books, but let's get right down to what you can do. Number one, commit yourself to 1 hour a week. 1 hour a week, put it in your calendar. It won't happen. Being an opportunity manager versus a crisis manager. Making a list of the hard trends that you know will happen and the related opportunity. The soft trends that might happen and the opportunity to influence them in your direction. And you will get a list. And what I'd like you to do is to refine it down to one thing that will create the biggest advantage in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of money, and do it. It'll be an amazing thing for you to try.
Oh, my brother, I love it. I love it. It's about getting creative. I often talk about, Daniel, it's never the money, man. It's never the resources. It's about being resourceful. You can hit it up like the colleges. Some of you guys are out there. You guys often see me preaching. Get yourself applied to speak at more events, getting on stages, getting on podcasts is the fastest way to build authority, credibility. When you go to an event, contact some local kids from the college. They're great videographers. They can come over, they can videotape. You teach them trade skill sets. Some of those kids, they want to be able to talk about it that they were the ones that did your videos, they did your editing, especially if they know you are an influencer. You are out there traveling, teaching, educating, and you collaborate. It's all about being creative. Carlos, I don't know who to talk to. In your event, in your city right now, there are a bunch of hotels. They have events. They have things happening. Go there, find out, talk to the event organizer, find out who's going to be speaking at that weekend at that hotel. Go talk to them. They're going to be there. They come a day or two earlier. Get to know those speakers. Try to collaborate with them and say, hey, I see that you speak about real estate. I talk about branding. Why don't we do an event together? I come in, whatever I sell from this event, anybody that do business with me, I'll get your percentage towards, your nonprofit, towards your business. And then I'll start also referring your clients. Who do you need help with? And then it's about getting creative. And I love that you touched on that point, Daniel. It's like you guys might have an idea. I don't have the money for putting an idea. I'm not getting money from investors. Hey, hit up those colleges. Daniel just gave you guys the blueprint.
Well,
and I love that.
And remember, I started 6 companies that did well. I've never had a business loan. And I started out as a teacher, which means I had no money. So all of them were started from scratch, but I used the principles that I teach. I used the skip it principle. I used a number of others. I used hard trends to get started. And in one of the businesses I started, I defined who my best customer would be. And I sold them an exclusive use of the product for a fee that actually was what I needed to start the thing and to build it.
Yes. Now I love that. And a lot of people sometimes if they think that they gotta have 1 million followers, they gotta have a bunch of likes and posts to go viral, and they gotta have 1 million downloads. No, we get 5,000, 7,000 downloads. Sometimes we get 3,000 downloads an episode, and so much thing happens from there. My guest
Well,
is here. They get people call you, contact you guys, right, for speaking on more stages, for doing coming into another interview, to hire you as a client. So much things happening just from interviewing my guests on the show. But my point is, it's like you literally just get yourself out there. Like
get
literally,
yourself
just
out there and start
but
moving.
I like the question that you said, Steve, Daniel, which is define the avatar. Remember, guys, you don't stop focusing on going viral. Focus on who is my avatar, where do they hang out, what do they like to consume, where do they went to school, what do they do on their time off. Really imagine that person so clearly in your mind. Now you use AI, use so many tools, Prosperity, Chat GPT, blah blah blah. Just go ask Chat GPT about all the AI tools that you can use for copy and video and editing and blah blah blah. Now you'd be able to now take that data of that, who's my ideal avatar, the person that I would love to serve, to sell, to do whatever you want to do with it. Now go leverage, use AI tools. Chat GPT, right, is the most known one. And now say, hey, Chat GPT, act as a powerful copywriter, anybody that you love. And now here's my avatar. Here's who I serve. Now design me 30-day content strategy so that I can speak to this person's soul, body, and spirit. And now remember, what we are doing here, we're not going for virality. No, no, no. You don't want 10,000 people. It's better to have 10 clients versus going after 10,000 people. Just
Well,
think about
and
it, right?
the
And
key
it's
is what you're saying.
it's
It's fishing. You got to know what you're fishing for. And one other thing, I mean, I've got close to 1.2 million followers on LinkedIn, for example. Well, remember, I started out with one, then I had two, then I had three. So when you see people with 1 million or more followers, you don't realize, well, there was a time when they didn't have 1 million and they worked at it. So, and consistent. And one thing that I found that was real helpful to generate a lot of revenue without having to pay any fees, all right, on LinkedIn and the others, was to, when you do a post, to do a little analysis. How many people read it? Who were the people that read it? What actions came from that? And I had one post that I did, because I've had some where I think the biggest one I ever had was over 500,000 people that responded to one blog on LinkedIn. But I've had some where there was only 6 or 7. And I had someone say, hey, it's a friend of mine. Hey, I noticed you only had 6 people respond to that, or that looked at that. That it didn't do well, did it? And I said, oh, it did great. One of those 6 was the CEO of a Fortune 2 company, and I'm working with him now. See, I was fishing. It isn't about the numbers. It's about
Fortune 2, baby, not 10 or 50.
yeah,
Again,
yeah.
I love it because, guys, it's what I always say on the stage. Trade all your expectations for appreciation. You never know. Imagine some of the people that dropped from the show over here early on. They don't even know how much more deeper we're gonna go, right? And again, you just never know, man. I'm telling you, that is power in those first 10, your first 100 followers. They will do more for the foundation of your business than your next 10,000 followers. Trust me, I've been interviewing people and doing businesses since I'm 7 years old. I've been interviewing people for 20 plus years, since MySpace was around, throwing events, showing the experiences happen around me, because I knew that's what people, they wanted. They want to hang out with cool people, athletes, celebrities, musicians. They want to have fun. They want to learn, how did you become the number one? How did you sell the most songs? How did you become an Oscars freaking winner? How did you become a great fighter, a great doctor? What is the secret to lasting 60 years married, Grandpa? I used to ask my grandpa. Now I am married for 20 plus years, right? So again, almost 20. But the point is that you ask people, what does it make you great? Give me the greatest tools and strategies that you're using now. And speaking of that, Daniel, before I forget, a question that I wanted to ask you here is, you called disruption a choice. So I want you to share with us a story of a client that turned a hard trend, like back then, like AI, into a Pentagon level opportunity.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll take a small company that did that, a relatively small company. And that is, it was an accounting firm in the Southeast. They embraced my hard trend methodology. So they started looking, and again, this is accounting. And they served a local area. So they started looking, and this, by the way, was around 2017 or 18. And they said, would cybercrime get more? Would there be more cybercrime? And they said, oh, yeah. Is that a hard trend? Yeah, that'll be a hard trend. So small businesses don't have a lot of help with cybercrime. They don't have companies helping them. At that time, it was only the big companies helping the big companies, and they were expensive. So they found a small little startup that was a bunch of people that were doing, cybersecurity, and they acquired them for not much and added a new feature, a new thing. Well, within a year, it was the most profitable part of the company. They spun it off to be a whole nother thing, and now it's become huge. So that came from just the insight of, I wonder if cybersecurity is going to become a bigger problem every year for small companies.
Wow, I love that. I love that. I
And
always
they
talk
create a
about
whole company around that, whole business around that.
wow.
And I could give you many examples. I'm just giving you a quick one.
No, I like that because you see, it really helps people also reflecting on this, because innovation isn't inventing something new, guys. Think about it, right? It's seeing what's inevitable and then acting first, right? It pays off to be there first. And that's what successful CEOs do. And speaking of CEOs, Daniel, I mean, the Pentagon, they don't gamble with uncertainty. What was the first question they asked you that every CEO should be asking too?
Well, I'll tell you one of the ways I started working with the Pentagon a number of years ago, and that was I was with and this will give you some insights. I was with the top 50 CIOs, Chief Information Officers on the planet Earth. So all of them had over $1 billion IT budget, each one of them, because these were the top 50. And I said, how many of you have an agile organization already? And they all put up their hand. And I said, good, I'm glad you're keeping up. How many of you have an anticipatory organization? And they even know what that was. And I said, okay, there's some ways of getting some advantage here, isn't there? And I said, well, one of the things I wanted to teach you is how to rapidly solve impossible problems. So why don't you tell me your impossible problem and I'll solve it for you right now. And then I'll teach you how to do it. And there was a guy over in the corner that raised his hand. I didn't realize he was the biggest of them all. He was the CIO of the Pentagon, which has more data and more servers than any other place on the planet. And but I didn't know that. He just raised his hand and said, I got a problem. And I said, what is it? And he says, I've got to get all of my legacy stuff up into the cloud as quickly as possible. That's my biggest problem.
And you didn't know who he were.
I didn't know who he was at all. And he said, so that's my biggest problem. And I said to him, all right, let me just get this straight. If you put all of your legacy stuff up in the cloud, won't you just end up with a legacy cloud? And he did exactly what you did. He kind of laughed. And I said, see, that's not your real problem, is it? You're working on the wrong one. Let's skip that. Let's go down. And he said, we gotta talk. And that's how I got working with those guys.
Well, I'm telling you, brother. I'm telling you, my head's off to you, my friend. I wish I could have that on my resume. Now, I'm still young, so we get there. And now I have a connection to the Pentagon.
You will get there. Yeah. Well, you know what? You'll get to where you decide you want to go.
Yes.
Let's let everybody let that sink in.
Yes.
And by the way, are you thinking big enough? So let me give you two quick things. I was giving a commencement speech not long ago to all these graduation people getting their PhDs and masters. And I mentioned two things. Number one, I said, I know you're all focused on living a successful life and being successful. Here's what I want you to do is to not do that at all. Instead of let's look at what success is. Success is about how much money you make, how big a car and house you have, how big your company is. That it's all about you. Instead, what I'd like you to do is to live a significant life. because significance isn't about you. It's about what you do for others. And if you elevate what you do for others every day, every year, you'll find yourself being far more successful. So the goal isn't success, it's significance. Yeah. And the second thing that I shared with them is that they were all graduating. And I said, I know you're thinking big about your future. You're getting your degree today. And I said, and just like for everyone that's here with us now, remember back when you got your last degree, no matter how long ago it was. And I said, mine was long ago. And at the time, I thought I was thinking big. But now that I look back, boy, I was thinking way too small. Now, here's my point. You're all thinking way too small right now. Everybody listening tonight, you're all thinking way too small. There's a bigger big. So I want you to define what you think your big is, your big future. And then realize, yeah, it's way too small. You can't do the bigger big until you define the big. You got to have a place to jump up to. So define your big and get it really good and specific, but don't get doing it. That's the mistake people make. They start working on their big thing and it takes a lot of time. I have found the bigger big is easier and takes less money and less time. So get to the bigger big and make sure you're living a significant life, not just a successful one.
Wow. Well, I love that. Just incredible. You know, somebody just asked here about if you do have a ebook or a book about this hard and soft lists. And then you actually have some pretty interesting books. And one in particular, your book, Foresight, teaches accelerating innovation. Could you tell us what is your counterintuitive rule for making low risk, high reward bets?
Yeah, I'll tell you that. And as a matter of fact, my latest book, the Anticipatory Organization, and by the way, there's a reason I didn't call it the Reactionary Organization. The Anticipatory Organization would even be better because I help you to see how to apply this to a business regardless of its size. And basically, it's really getting good at separating the hard trends from the soft trends so that you can find certainty. There's certainty in the hard trends. And when you have certainty, what do you have? You have the confidence to make a bold move. Secondly, when you know something's going to happen, the bigger risk is not doing it because it's going to happen anyway. So if you know this disruption is heading your way and you can see it and it's going to happen, are you going to be the disruptor or the disrupted? Well, you have a choice. You can sit back and say, I'll wait and see and get disrupted. Or you can say, I'm going to be a positive disruptor right now because I know it's happening. And you will be innovating with low risk. Why? Because it's going to happen anyway. It's certain. So it'll give you the confidence. So anticipatory organization. One other thing, we've mentioned AI. I have an AI report you can download for free. You can go to AIstrategyreport.com and download it for free. And what I've done is I've gone through and reviewed 1,200 AI tools. Now, I saved you a lot of time. You haven't done that. I did 1,200 AI tools, and I've given you the top 5 in a number of categories. Most of us don't even know the categories of things that it can do. And I'm giving you case studies of how others have done it. I'm giving you tips on how to write good prompts, all for free. AIstrategyreport.com. And
somebody type in on the links, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. Do me a favor, guys. And if even you guys watching us live, AIstrategyreport.com. Let's make sure nobody trying to become creative and create a new link. So AIstrategyreport.com. Put in below. Highly recommend, guys. As you can see, Daniel, he's just like a supercomputer. and Daniel, tell me something. You said in some of the convos, remote work is a soft trend. How do you advise leaders to rig their strategy when even certainties like AI keep evolving?
Well, one of the ways I've been really good at predicting the future, I'm going to share with all of you so you can be good at this. And that is, I call it the both and principle. Mm-hmm. So most of us think it's either this or that. It's either everybody's working in the office or everybody's remote. Instead of, no, the future is actually both and. It's a mixture of the two. And the key is to ask yourself, what do I want people to come into the office for? And is it to just be so I know where all my people are? By the way, poor use of an office. But if I'm using it to accelerate and elevate innovation, collaboration, and things like that, wow, now that office is thriving. You see, and does that mean we will not have remote work? Well, we can have remote work, but not everyone thrives in a remote setting. Yeah. Some people need to be with other people. I know that as a fact. And I also know some people love and work better when they're by themselves and not distracted. They need to focus. So, you know, it's kind of like some people are messy and some people are real organized. I remember when I was in school, we had lockers when I was in high school. And some kids had a messy locker and some kids had a real neat locker. Well, if we took the messy kid's locker and made it neat and the neat kid's locker made it messy, wouldn't be long and it would be back to the way it used to be. Why? Because that's how they organized. And they'll probably be like that forever. But that's okay. The messy one has it organized. It just looks like a mess to a person who's not messy.
Yes. No, I love that. And it's cool too. Like even getting creative, allow your employees to do like to blend it, like understanding, like what do they prefer? Like the same way how companies they do personality tests, right? Do you want to understand? Same thing with how do your employees? How do they work better with others or by themselves? You know, I interviewed
a number of leaders on this, by the way, in government that have just been told they all have to go back to the office. You know, that's something that President Trump said, y'all got to go back to the office. So the leaders of a lot of those big organizations have told me the flaw of that is our top performers and our mid performers now are going to be less productive. They're finding they're less productive. However, the low performers are doing much better back in the office. The high performers were doing much better back at home. So in other words,
I can speak for that. I've been in sales since I was young. I'm the guy. I'm in the field. If you tell me to come into the office, I would like, no. Why are we gonna have to keep coming for those meetings when I can use the time to be more effective, building more relationships, bringing you guys more business Fortune 10 companies, you know? And,
exactly.
You know, so you know, it's interesting, man. It'll be interesting to see the future at work. And like you say, there's a lot of leaders listening to us right now. But what do you think about the idea of giving the choice to the employees? If they want to come in, they come in. If they don't, they stay home. Do you think that would be a great idea, kind of giving them the choice?
I think I'd like to be a little more strategic and work with them on that.
Yeah.
To look at, are they playing to their strengths or their weaknesses? Again, what do I need as an employer? Because let's say we're doing some collaborative innovation and we need their collaboration. Well, you know, hey, I need you here to collaborate. But maybe I don't need you every day. Maybe I don't need you every hour. Yes. So, you know, I want to be strategic about it rather than just give them a choice because they aren't the leader. They don't know the bigger picture. They know their picture only.
Yeah, like a blend. Have them come in for certain days and home for certain days, like a blend of the two.
And instead of it just be a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, maybe it's around what are we really trying to accomplish this week? What's our goals? What are we trying to do?
Yeah, because this way now you can blend the low performer to become more performant, being around others. You know how they become competitors, and the high performers do what they do best: being in the field, traveling, bringing more businesses to the company, networking, doing what they do. So no, I love that, and it's interesting, man. It's interesting to see this whole blend. I've been watching over here in Silicon Valley. It's a battle, right? It's a lot of even the amounts of layoffs and people jumping from from Menlo Park to Mountain View. I'm not even going to say company names because you and I know a lot of those guys. But, you know, it's interesting to see what's happening. I've been in Silicon Valley here for 20 plus years, and it's interesting. And there's a lot of talk about that because of the amount of money that these companies, they do spend on this, right? Relocating people and housing and everything else that goes with. But question for you, man, time is going so fast.
I know. We've been buzzing right along here. Holy cow.
I'm telling you. And guys, I have 2 more questions here for Daniel. I appreciate it. I see you guys over here piling and asking questions and dropping.
I know people are saying, whoa, it's late at night here.
Sorry if I cannot get to all your comments.
By the way, thank you all for being here this evening with all this. Thank you for hanging in there. I really appreciate it.
Man, I'm telling you, we have so many comments here, and guys, sorry if I couldn't get all the comments on the screen. But I love that you guys are commenting and engaging here with us, because it shows me that you guys love this, and which I know you guys do, as Daniel has so much wisdom. And then if someone ignores your challenge to act on hard trend this week, what's the hidden cost they will pay in 12 months?
Well, the cost is, again, the world and everything is accelerating. Technology-driven change is beyond exponential. And it's not just AI, by the way, Internet of Things. And I could go through a matter of fact, another one of my reports is the top 25 technology trends shaping the future. You can download that for free at Burrus, BURRUS.com. That would be another one to take a look at. I've got a lot of resources, obviously, that you can just have and use. But not doing it is really bad during a time of massive, rapid, extreme transformation. And we're no longer in change. We're in transformation. Remember the BlackBerry. That changed how we did our email, and it changed because we could now do it remotely, because I could do my email with a phone, and I could do texting, and I could have my calendar.
Remember those big ones?
Yeah. And so that's the BlackBerry, the little, everybody was using their thumbs.
Remember the MIB one, Daniel, the little silver MIB one?
I remember all those crazy things. But here's what I'm getting at. The company, the CEO of BlackBerry, the company was Research in Motion. And when the CEO saw the first iPhone, he said, quote, unquote, "Why would anyone want to watch video on a small screen?" Now, what was he doing? He's doing what I don't want you to do. He was in a protect and defend mode. Here's what I want you to be: in an embrace and extend mode. Embrace the new and extend it, instead of protect and defend the way it's always been.
Yes, no, I love that. I love that. I always ask better question. I see something good. How can I make this better? How can I add value to this company? Even though I don't even have no idea or know anybody, or not even through my third wave connections on LinkedIn. But if I see a company disruptive, with some cool tech, how can I get to know these people? How can I get to know their CEOs, their board? How can I add value to them? Hey, you want me to interview you, right? I do whatever. I always, like you said, being that person of value, finding ways, asking better questions. And Daniel, what's one hard trend you are betting on that will rewrite the rule of business in the next 5 years?
Well, the biggest one, of course, is around what AI is doing, because AI actually impacts every process, every product, every service, and every technology, because we're interweaving it into everything. And we might think it's all about generative AI, but remember, we also have agentic AI. And to understand the difference between those two, what we have to do is realize generative AI is about creating. Generative AI is, agentic AI is about doing. So one is about creating, the other one is about doing. Those two combinations are so powerful. But remember, there's no such thing as artificial wisdom.
Yeah.
Remember the doctor example I gave you, the oncologist example. What we're going to be doing is using it to make us better, elevating us all. It will create all kinds of new jobs. It will get rid of some, yeah, but there'll be all sorts of jobs. Matter of fact, the biggest jobs 5 years from now aren't even invented yet.
For real, man. Wow. I appreciate it, Daniel. Before I gave you the last question of the day, where is there's so much love from you guys over here? We got people here from Scotland. We got people from Brazil, Mexico.
Oh, wonderful.
We got USA. We got folks over here. Really grateful for the interview, and I appreciate you all, guys. So many comments, so many messages.
I'm seeing some of these coming up. I appreciate it.
Man, we are so thankful, guys. Like I said, man, every like and comment and tag and repost, it gets us more exposure, more sponsors. You guys know I donate pretty much 100% of the money that comes through helping feeding kids, supporting their veterans, moms selling their tamales and fruits on the streets. Again, it's like about doing more for others than anybody else out there. And my brother Daniel, I know that you already shared a few sites here with us throughout the show, but where is the best place they can continue this conversation? They can get the best stuff from you. Is it social media? Is a particular site? What
Well,
is the best place?
I would say, first of all, Burrus, BURRUS.com. My last name. Go there. I've got a website with tons of blogs that you could look at and search by subject. I've got my learning system, which is an award winner. I've got, lots of resources that you could tap into, plus a lot of free ones that you could download, as I mentioned before. Secondly, LinkedIn. I'm posting there all the time. Join the conversation. Let's connect. I mean, I'm on other platforms, but I spend a lot of time putting a lot of effort into try. And what I do on LinkedIn is I'm just trying to give you guidance and give you help. So let's connect on LinkedIn.
Yes, guys, I highly recommend. Guys, you guys know me, man. I only bring legends here on the show, and Daniel is he bought the heat. He bought his A game. I knew he was gonna bring it. And you guys go to burrus.com. That's B as in Bravo, URRUS.com, guys. So you guys listening here on the podcast, shout out to all our podcast listeners on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Alexa, Audible, Google, and everywhere around the world. I'm really grateful to you all. And that brings us, my friend Daniel, to our last question of the show.
Yeah,
and
we had like four last questions. I love it. Keep going. I love it.
It went so fast. But every guest that comes on the show, my friend, it's 50 years from now. You are 100 years old. And your loved ones, they're going to be reading your eulogy, and they will say, Daniel Burrus was ... In your own words, my brother, who was Daniel Burrus?
Well, I would say he was a teacher that helped us actively shape a better future for ourselves and for others. And I did have a funny one I'll throw in. A couple of years back, I had an interviewer who asked me, what would you like said at your funeral? And my answer was, hey, I think he's moving.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Professor, author, speaker, just the master AI tech. Had so much to do with how technology has evolved over the decades. So, as an honor, my brother, to have you on the show, and we'll take this one to the grave. Thank you, my friend. And I already seen it, guys. You guys don't have to say nothing else. So much love, so much likes, hundreds of people here active. We're going to have to do part 2. And thank you all. You guys have an outstanding rest of your day. You guys know it. Life is all about the mission, never the commission. And when you feel down and giving up and you are tired, remind yourself that somebody else has worse out there. When you're feeling down or overwhelmed with AI and technology, picture Professor Daniel on your right. The giant Carlos Inspire 6'5", 300 pounds on your left. Look you in the eye and telling you the days that breaks us are truly the days that makes us.